So
Yeah, okay, no worries at all.
welcome to Alberta Impact. I'm your host, Bryce Lambert. My guest tonight is Trevor Moore, who is the CEO of Surepoint Group. He's going to tell us about how Surepoint pulled together resilience through the hard times to become the company it is today. He's got some great stories about just the innovations, the people, and just the overall push and resilience that Albertans can have to kind of get through the hard times and move towards the future. Thank you so much for joining us, Trevor.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Bryce.
Absolutely.
I appreciate it.
For sure.
It's nice to meet you.
Absolutely, you too. So tell us a little bit about, Surepoint, kind of your beginnings, where you guys kind of came from. I think it's a really cool story. You touched point on it a little bit behind camera. So just kind of give us the story about Surepoint.
So Surepoint Group was started as Surepoint Services back in 2003, actually a year before. A gentleman named Cordell from the north, kind of a father, grandfather figure to everybody, had a small business, and he'd approached nine of us, a bunch of farm kids basically, who worked in the trades, to come together. And we started the company, 10 owners, 10% each. We had 15 employees out of the gate, and we just created this really awesome culture. And we grew from 15 people to 40 people to 80 people. We kind of doubled in a bit every year for about 5 years actually. We got up to over 300 people, and in 2008 we were 200 and some people, and we actually had we'd been named the number 3 fastest growing company in Alberta. Wow. Under $20 million, or around 20 million at the time. That got us a lot of exposure. We were looking at that time, how do you grow it, and needed some capital, and we thought we needed some more structure. And we ended up selling to a private equity group out of the U.S. in 2008.
Gotcha.
And that's where the story kind of spins negative. We had this amazing culture, amazing company, lots of growth. We grew a lot. From 2008 to 2013, we grew over 40% again, and now we're talking into the multi-millions of dollars. So that kind of growth is crazy.
Yeah, huge.
And we kind of outgrew ourselves.
Right.
And what happened was our culture started to disintegrate. We lost really good people. We didn't give our clients the same kind of client intimacy that they were used to, because we were just a bunch of farm kids who just went to work hard, and we just wanted to do a good job and make a bit of money. And so, that changed to trying to be a big corporation. We kind of let go of what was really important. And I don't think it was intentional, but it's what happened. In 2013, I was offered the CEO position by the board. And to start with, I had turned it down because it was kind of a big, scary thing. and I knew that we had a bit of an uphill battle. I thought about it, talked to my wife about it, and went back to them and said, yeah, let's try it. I felt like I had got some money off the table, and so I could go and take some time off or go do something else. But a whole bunch of really good, awesome people had quit their jobs to come to work at Surepoint. And a lot of them did because we said that we were better and we were different. And all of a sudden we weren't. And I was like, now we have an opportunity to make an impact. I have an opportunity to. And I kind of felt like I'd be leaving my friends and family behind. Yeah. So I was like, hey, yeah, I'll take this on. 10 weeks later, I ended up getting a letter of forbearance from the bank we were dealing with. Didn't know what that was, other than it was bad. Turns out it's the first steps towards foreclosure. So I learned a whole bunch. I had to learn a whole bunch about business. But the first thing that I did was I'd been looking for an opportunity to pull the team together and to really rally and to get our culture back. Yeah. And I woke up a day or two after we got that letter, and I was like, hey, this is the thing that we needed, actually. I've told Kara this, I now call it the gift of forbearance, because it forced us to do some things we wouldn't have done, probably take some cost out, restructure. But more importantly, I was able to get in my truck, drive to every location, and talk to 90% of our people and just tell them the truth. Yeah. I'm way over my head as the CEO here. I'm not exactly sure what I'm doing. This thing's big and it's kind of messy. And I said, and I'm really sorry. I was one of the leaders and we let you down. We let the culture disintegrate. I said, it's busy. 2013 was slammed. I said, I understand. I'm letting you know we're in trouble. Yeah. We're in forbearance. And if you need to go, I understand. But if you stay, we can get through it together. And we can actually have something way better than we ever had. And so we actually rallied, and we came through the forbearance period, started to see, some positive things happening again financially. And then the recession hit. And
Just can't catch a break.
Yeah. The reality is, though, Bryce, it was those events that helped us survive.
Right.
The forbearance happened at a time where it was busy, so we could get through that and start to get our culture back. Then as we were going into a downturn in the economy, we had already started to right-size our business and do things, not planning on a recession,
right?
But it positioned us pretty well for it.
To be prepared.
Unintentionally.
Right.
I'd like to take credit for that, but, but it just happened, right?
Yes.
And so, another tough few years though, and our folks are getting tired for sure. It was really hard, a lot of pressure again financially for a while. But Albertans are resilient. I think they're I've got to travel all over the world with Surepoint, and I don't think there's more resilient human beings anywhere when you get into an economic crisis or you get into a crisis. And Surepoint is like that. Like I said, we're dysfunctional in a lot of ways, but if somebody's suffering in this company, the whole company rallies around them.
It's a good family.
It is, and we fight like family too.
Right.
But so we got through it, and last year in December, the private equity group had talked in the summer about getting out of the fund. It's been a long time, and they wanted to sell it. I had spoke to a few of the people internally and asked if they were interested in buying it back. There was enough interest that we decided to go ahead with it, and the goal is, and the full support from everybody who invested, was to turn Surepoint into an employee-owned, broad-based employee-owned company. We'd like everybody to have an opportunity to have ownership in it, and we wanted to bring it back to Alberta. We knew that the economy was tough. We knew it was going to be a couple of years of down, but we wanted investors and investment from Albertans, and we have a couple from Northern BC as well, invest a couple of our folks, but we wanted to bring it back home. We knew we could get through this. Hell, we'd been through the worst things you could go through.
Yeah.
And we paid down lots of debt, and we pulled together. And so for us, it was like, let's bring it home. Let's really, really care about each other. Let's care about our communities. Let's care about our clients. And let's get through this and get to the other side.
It's almost like a get back to basics.
Very much so. Right. And we're still going through that now. Like, how do you just make this about human beings again?
Right. Well, and that's super cool because it's what I love about the story is it's kind of how you're kind of going through the phases that I think a lot of Albertans are feeling right now. Even Saskatchewans are starting to feel right now, where it's like, we're going through that tough time. We kind of feel like we're left behind, but we need to really pull it together, stick together, and push forward and find, I like the positivity out of the story. And that's something we really focus on here on the show, is just the positivity that's like, we'll pull this together. We can do this.
Yeah.
I know it sucks, but without the trials and tribulations of life, we don't grow. And if we could become too comfortable, things like what happened to Surepoint in the early days, you guys were comfortable, it starts to deteriorate. You start to quit caring, you start to quit working. It's easy, it's just happening. But then you wake up one morning and, oh shit, it's not there anymore.
Yeah.
And so you guys have realized that early enough. You pulled it together. I love the fact that you brought it back to Alberta. The inclusion of your employees and the people that are directly affiliated with the company, including them into that process, that's a wicked story in itself right there.
Yeah.
Building ownership, with your employees, that's a great method. And then on top of all that stuff, you guys are starting to do some pretty cool, innovative stuff with your technology and just kind of, outside the employee into things, but with your technology. Tell us some more stuff about that.
Yeah. So a couple of years ago, I was introduced to a fellow over at Microsoft, one of their VPs, through a friend of mine who actually is now a part of Surepoint, Rod and his fellow were friends, and so got to go and walk through their learning center and got a tour of it. And they started to they had some stuff that was very specific to oil and gas, but they had what was called HoloLens, and I'd seen it before and saw the application and was like, hey, that's super cool. And we had talked at one time about, even though it's a bit gimmicky, we could talk about it, buy a set of glasses, and it's a bit of a differentiator, at least for a conversation. But when I went over, then I put those on, and Rod had been telling me, hey, there's a business case for this, I think. And they had an electrical panel meter, and I put these things on. You saw the outline of it, and there was a guy who could kind of draw a circle around, turn the breaker on.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, it wasn't advanced to where it is today. But I was like, we need to somehow bring some of that into our business. And I believe that there was a fit for it, mostly on the service side to start with. I was like, if you could take your most talented engineer or your most talented instrument guy, and he could be, I laugh all the time. I'm like, our engineers can go on vacation and we can get them to work from the beach now.
Yeah.
But you can have a technician on the other side of the world.
Yeah.
Put these glasses on. He can log on to a computer. He can see everything that the technician can see. Can move his hands. You can send him information. You can send him drawings or schematics. But more importantly, the person can be like, I've got all the experience. I fixed 100 of these. And so just go over and push the red button. Then you can draw a yellow circle around the red button. And so we said, from a training perspective, one of the things that's going to happen from the other side of this downturn is there's going to be a massive shortage of skilled labor. In trades, you stop developing young people, or you slow it down in times of recession, because your stronger people can go to work. You don't have enough work or enough margin to support some young folks.
Right.
And so you come through these, and all of a sudden you have all high paid, high quality people who are taken. The market sucks them up.
Yep.
And you've got this gap. And I said, for us, we always try to, how do you close that gap? Well, you can actually do it through technology, we believe. And so we've been working on it for a couple of years, and we got our first version out. We found a way actually to use it in our construction business as well for our packaging group.
Yeah.
Where we can,
you were saying,
we can scale it.
Yeah, and that stuff sounds really cool too. Being able to essentially 3D CAD a room essentially, but make it realistic and augment it into these heads-up displays essentially.
Yeah, 100%. We could take a room like this with nothing in it, and we could have put the glass on. You could walk in, it would calibrate from the 3D model that you load into it. You could see the desk, you could see the camera. Hell, if you were 3D modeled, we'd see you.
Right.
And
super gnarly.
Yeah, and so you can see where everything's supposed to fit.
Yeah.
Before you even go into construction. So you could, when the door opens, does it hit the desk? Oh shoot, we got to move some stuff. So you actually can get ahead of things that you normally wouldn't find out until you were in construction.
Yeah.
And the other thing too, then you can see during the construction period, is the desk in the right spot?
Right.
Or is it, it'll be red because it's 2 feet to the right.
Yeah.
And it needs to be there.
Yeah.
And so really cool stuff. And we've got some super techie guys who figured this out and worked with Microsoft and a company called Cognitive Spark. And we've developed some of our own IP. And actually another thing, IRAP has supported us on this as well.
Wicked.
Which is, a part of the Alberta innovation type stuff.
Exactly.
Innovates has talked to us about some of this as well.
Okay, great.
So more Alberta.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what we're all about.
Yeah.
And that's super cool that you guys are adopting this kind of platform and developing that IP here again locally and just, being the testing ground for a lot of this stuff. And you don't know the kind of implications that could lead to. And when people start knocking on your door asking you like, hey, you guys are doing something, we want to try something too. Yeah. You can kind of coach them through that. And again, that's right here and happening here.
Yeah. Another thing we're doing, and we've partnered with SAIT on it, is one of our instrument techs. He came up with he developed a heater that has zero emissions. So in the oil and gas, there's all the heaters that are put out. They put off some kind of they burn natural gas.
Right.
And so in this day and age where we're trying to be net zero for carbon, this idea he came up with, and we screwed around with it in the shop a lot and tried some different things. And the only byproduct of it, it's oxygen and water is the only thing that comes off it.
Oh, wow.
We had got it to a certain stage and kind of hit a roadblock. He was talking to someone from SAIT, and SAIT grabbed this and helped us with it. And we've got a demo version built now that we believe we can help the oil and gas industry. And actually, it's can go vertical into many markets around the world.
Gotcha.
To provide heat, and we're working on providing a power source for it too. So you could have a standalone unit that would provide heat and power, and zero carbon footprint.
Right.
So
wow, that's crazy. We had Kalea Carrington on the show here just the other day, and she's talking about that same stuff, like just lowering the emissions of some of these generators and these machines that are needing this, but just dropping those carbon emissions drastically.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, the fact that like a lot of people scream to the heavens that we're not doing things, but I mean, man, we're one of the cleanest sectors right now.
You know what? So we are, and I have a whole theory on this, and I actually take a different approach to it. I think that there's better uses. I love the oil and gas industry, and I've saw the development and the advancement over the 27 years I've been in it.
For sure.
And I see how much people care about the environment. I see it. You know, we've made some mistakes. There's no question. But I've never met an Albertan who said, I don't want the planet to be better for my kids.
Right.
Not one. And so we're being sort of attacked here. And I think that the narrative has to change, and we have to say, look, you know, is the environment getting worse? I don't know. Is climate changing? For sure, it changes all the time. Is there more pollution on the planet? 100%. There's more people.
Yeah.
There's more people using oil and gas. I believe that there's better uses for oil and gas. I don't think it's the most efficient way to produce power. But I believe Alberta is actually a part of the solution. It's not a part of the problem. And I think what we have to do is stop fighting over the fact is there a problem or not? Let's just assume the worst. Let's say that the climate is changing. So let's stop fighting about that, all of us.
Start working on solutions.
Let's start working on, so bring them over the line.
Yes.
Natural gas, is it the best thing in the world? I don't know, but it's better than coal.
Yeah.
And so let's start phasing it down. And I think that Albertans, we have an opportunity to change the narrative, to say, we're not fighting with you. We're on your side. We do want to make this we want to make the planet better, and we actually can. And we're a bunch of people who really, really, really care about other human beings. It's kind of the Canadian way, and Albertans exemplify that. And we're just, what you see on TV and the protests and the pushbacks from Albertans is coming from fear.
Yeah.
You know, our lives.
And that's a lot of that fear comes from lack of understanding.
Right.
And I mean, to hear the stories of companies like yours and I mean, the hundreds of other ones that are across this province that are working on, I mean, we can't just shut the tap off, but we can definitely make it better or safer or healthier we're always working on that. And we're spending gazillions of dollars to do that. Yeah. So it's not like we've given up.
No,
we've actually, we're, like you said, we're part of the solution.
Yeah.
And the like you said, the fear comes from the lack of understanding. Yeah. And now we need to keep telling these stories of organizations like you and hundreds that are out there that are doing something about it, but are still involved in making our lives comfortable and heating our homes.
I said the whole thing, and I've been caught in the trap when I was angry too, because I take it personal at times as well. It's a great industry, and I love it, and it's fed my family, and it's fed a lot of families. Yeah. And if you said, okay, well, we could move away from this, and you could go put solar panels in for the rest of your life and make a lot of money, then our guys would go and put solar panels in.
Exactly.
I mean, we just want to do the right thing, and everybody wants the same thing. Yeah. They want to make sure their family's healthy. They want to send their kids to swimming lessons. They want to buy them a Christmas present. Yeah. Like life is pretty simple. Yeah. And so I think there's fear on both sides, and there are companies like us. I mean, we're a small one in this thing, and we're spending money and time and energy to try and find ways to help the industry and the world actually do better. And I think that message needs to get out there, and we have to stop having this polarized conversation about oil and gas versus renewables. There's some huge advantages to some renewables. We shouldn't have to stand on either side of the line. Right. One should actually pave the way for the other, and I think you have to start talking them as both. Yep. And Albertans might as well lead that way. Absolutely. You know, because we are innovators, especially in technology, and we. Well,
we've got the resources, we've got the brains, the talent's there. We just got to keep nurturing it, pushing it forward, and make it happen.
Yeah, 100%.
Trevor, thank you so much for joining us today. This was super insightful, and I'm really glad to hear that there's organizations like you out there. I'm glad that it came back to Alberta. I got one last question for you, actually. So, what do you think the biggest advantage of being a company like yours here in Alberta? What's the biggest advantage?
You get such positive support from the industry. We have some of the best clients in the world, and so we work for tier 1 Class A clients. I've said often when I've traveled around, like, we have the most enviable client list that you could have. But we also recognize that, we don't work for, the emblem or the large company. We work for the Darrens and the Lories, and they're Albertans. Right. And they're from BC. They're Western Canadians. And so people want to help people. And that's what we found. So the resilience of our team was amazing, but the support we got through all of that from our clients I could tell you stories about how they went out of their way to help do a quick pay on an invoice for us to help us get through that tough time. And that's just humans helping humans, and that is Alberta, you know. And with our interaction in BC, we have a branch up north in Fort St. John, and you know, it almost feels to me like it's more the Canadian way. I think, you know, there's some differing views on stuff, but Canadians just are good people in general, and Albertans certainly.
Good stuff. Right on. Again, thank you so much for your insights. This was super awesome. Much appreciated.
Yeah, no, I appreciate
it. I mean, there you have it, folks. Like another example of an organization that went through the tough times, pulled through by sticking together, and made things happen. And they've done things for their people. They're working on things for the environment. And again, that's all happening right here out of Alberta. So if you want to find out more, head on over to their website at Surepoint, and we'll have some links below the video as well. And that's pretty much it for today. So thank you so much for joining us. If you like the video, please subscribe, share with your friends, spread the good vibes here about Alberta and Alberta Impact, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks so much.